Here we go. Q1. Let's get some lap times in. Some of the guys are already out there putting in 23s. Lots of 23s. Here we go. 22 yet. Let's get some lap times.
Looks like we're going to need somewhere to bust the 23 mark to make it in the top 10, and at least in America's Pro.
Yeah, there was some 22.8s out there, and we're seeing one now. Eric Smith, go to him. Moment. Sorry for the technical difficulties here, folks. This is my first time doing this for the series. Looks like we only have Cordell there. How's your day?
Oh, it's been busy. How about you?
Surviving. It's been a wild week of practice. Rockingham is just bumpy as old hell. And it looks like there's going to be a bit of spread in qualifying this week compared to Daytona. What are you thinking?
Well, definitely. It's one of the reasons that I personally prefer, races and tracks and combos like this. It's hard. Everybody's been commenting on how difficult it is. And I think that's good. I think it separates folks, and I think that we'll get longer green flag runs than people anticipate. And once that starts to happen, people will find their own race, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think so too. We've had a hell of a week just trying to nail down the track. I think it's going to be a lot harder for people who maybe are more toward the road racing side of iRacing, because this is a track that you actually have to know how to do an oval. It's not Daytona where you're just pinned into it all the time. You have to learn how to manage the tires, manage the corners. It's going to be interesting to see how everybody gets sorted out here.
Yeah, it is. And, starts, restarts are going to be crazy. But, I think we'll get strung out quicker than we maybe anticipate. Looks like, Eric ran a 22.89. That's definitely good enough to get in the top 10. In America's Pro, Mike Kelly at 22.991. That's way up there in Europe Pro. Joseph Homan, Colin Marzolf, those are also another couple of Europeans. Colin, I know, is in the Sportsman, so that 23.105 will for sure get him in the top 10 at this point. Bill Fletcher is America's Pro at 23.131. That's really good. Not fast enough for the top 10, but definitely really fast.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, more so for my own sake, if we see any sportsmen break it into the 22 in Americas.
You wouldn't have any personal thing there going on.
Not at all.
Joe just posted that he's got the pole currently in European Sportsman, which is fantastic. 23.097 is blistering.
Nice. I'm going to try to play a little bit with this overlay here and give you folks a little bit of lap history for each one that comes up compared to the guy behind. Jean-Francois Arsenault on track. Let's see how he does here. 23.566 so far from lap 2. I think I saw a little wall rub there. Jean-Francois racing for Can-Am Racing.
Yeah, he did get the wall a little bit.
23.4. I think that's going to be probably not good enough. I'm not sure how the other regions are doing, but Thinking
So
Jean-Francois can get a couple more tenths out of that car.
yeah, 23,242 is what is right now needed for top 10 in Europe Pro, and Europe Am is 23.7. But I'm not sure. I'm not. Let me see where he's at.
And Jean-Francois finishes the night with a 23,333. Perfect threes.
Yeah, he's in pro, so didn't quite make the top 10, but still not bad.
Jason McSparron, also mid-23s. He just did his last lap.
Yeah, this will be America Sport, and that's what you're interested in.
That is what I'm interested in, but I know other people are interested in other things. Let's, oh, here's my man, Brian Howlett, heading out on track. He's going to warm up those tires for a lap, so he's also an American sportsman. Let's see who else is busting around. Jason just coming down pit lane.
Yeah, he actually cracked into the top 10. Jason did. His 23.5 was the barrier before, so he's now inside that. I'm not keeping track of everybody, so maybe somebody else slipped in there.
Michael Morley has been quick in practice. You see him doing a 22.862. That might be the fastest time of Q1. Or the last session of Q1 anyway. We've got Liam Quinn out there. Has yet to post a time. Brian did a 23.229 for America's Sportsman so far.
Yeah, that's good enough for top 10 also. And Michael Morley's time is, I think, third overall all week long, so that's putting him in the top 10 for sure.
Liam, 23 flat on his first lap.
That's pretty impressive.
That is quite impressive, though. Second lap, 23.1.
He looks pretty loose.
Dean Mole, also with Kinetic, doing 23.2s. He's coming up high. That's very, very high. Looks like Brian's lining himself up for another try. He finished it with a 23.206. Morley also lining himself up for another try after his 22.853. Cameron Dance starts tonight on his first lap, 25.3. Does another 25.332.
He's definitely working on getting the tires up to temp. Dean Mole is an international driver, so he cracked the top 10.
Mark McFadden out of Canada, running a little bit slower than a lot of these guys out there. 23.9 and a 24.0. He's really high on that track. Thinking Mark needs to bring it down to that yellow line a bit. Here we go. Maybe he was just warming those tires up. 23.8 on his lap 3. It's burning a lot of laps. Yeah, he's just not able to keep that car down. You really need to hug that yellow line, don't you? Not sure if we lost Mike or if he just doesn't want to talk to me right now.
I'm right here. Taking in all the action.
Yeah. Well, Brian's still at the end of the queue line there. Maybe he's trying to save one for his last lap. Riley Thompson Looks like he's about to start a few laps here in that 58 TDR machine.
Yep, so he's going to be looking to bust in under a 23.15, somewhere in there to secure a spot in the top 10. Right now, that last spot's being held by Ross Banfield.
And here goes Brian for his last shot. He's gonna have to get those tires up to 10 pretty quick, so we'll see how it goes. He's gonna keep it low in 3-4 on his out lap. Well, I think Brian may have burned a lap. Yep. That's the look of frustration right there.
Well, he got a nice little parade lap on TV.
Yeah, sure did. Riley
Practice his burnout. Let's see it.
Yeah.
Don't do it like that, Brian.
No, not quite. What is Riley gonna post for a time? Across the line. Riley does a 23.324. Puts him 27th in the session. What division and region is he in?
He's Euro Pro, so he's looking to get into the teens or lower, which he's on a good. Looks like he's maybe setting up himself to do that. But
there we go. Into the ones, but just barely with a 199. Looks like he's going to abort and try again for 3 and 4. Andrew Waring has been very, very quick in the support races. Looks like he's trying to warm up his tires on his out lap. Unorthodox, That 336 machine, it's got a lot of pink going on. Maybe he's trying to nab Michael Morley's pink time at the top of the sheets with his paint job there.
Yeah, he must be. This is an interesting strategy call because he's his 7th in time right now, and I guess he's just trying to improve. I mean, again, if you make the shootout, you make the shootout, and I think he's actually in by virtue of the support race, if I'm not mistaken. I mean,
I do believe he is. First time's a 394 rather. He does a 23.258.
Well, it looks like at this point he's just donating charity because he's locked into the top 10 regardless.
Well, maybe he's trying out a new setup, trying to see if it'll stick. Maybe he's just winding those tires up. 23.1. No, he has lifted, so he's going to abort on lap 4. 23.130 for Andrew Waring. Oh, perfect time to come to Robert Covey going up into the wall. He's back in pit lane, gonna line up for another one. Kyle Apsey from Michigan in the 87 machine. His first lap, 23.6. I'd say that's below average at this point, wouldn't you, Mike?
Yes, for sure. It obviously depends on where you're going to be, but 23.6 is not quite good enough in any region or division for top 10. Obviously, he's going to look to get a little more pace out of that thing.
Yeah, looks like he's pretty far up off that yellow line. He did a 23.7 for his lap 3. Let's see how he does for lap 4. 23.6 again. Kyle, I think, is going to have an uphill battle in the race, but maybe he's going to manage those tires. Oh, Up into the wall for Kyle Epsy. If only we had to pay for all the cars we wrecked, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
So, Robert Covey's back out again. 24.6 on his first lap. He's a good second and a half off the pace right now. How's he going to do for lap 2? Practice is just so important here. Going into last week when we started practicing, I think a lot of the guys were in those mid and high 23s. And you just need to turn those laps. There's lots of guys on that live qualifying board with over 1,000 official practice laps. How much time have you been putting in there, Mike?
Not hardly any. I ran a few laps before. I've been having PC issues, to be honest with you, but don't ever get to turn as many laps as I would like to.
Well, that's part of being on the competition committee. You gotta herd the cats.
Exactly. Yeah, it's sometimes it seems fruitless, to be frankly honest with you, but it's okay. I enjoy doing what we do.
Robert Covey, best time is a 23.615. That's gonna put him probably in the second split, not even just outside the top 10.
Right. So yeah, in Americas we'll have 2 pro splits for sure. We'll have at least, obviously, 1 sportsman split, but possibly 2. A good chance we'll have 2 actually. So yep.
Johnny Bell is out there doing his out lap, or his first time lap rather. He is on that line. Johnny Bell in the red 27 machine, first time across the line. He's gonna do a 23.7, so maybe it looked quick, but it wasn't. Oh, he's getting loose. He's not gonna abort the lap though. He's just gonna power through. Johnny Bell, his time currently good for 40th in session.
He's international pro, so there'll only be 1 split, so he'll be in there, but he's going to want to improve on that for sure.
Up into the 24s already. That's going to be a second off the pace.
He's super loose. That right rear is stepping out on him badly.
Setup is vitally important here. I would say even more so than Daytona, wouldn't you?
No, but you know, obviously you're going to be within, hundredths of a second at Daytona, and that's what your setup is trying to achieve. And here, the setup you're trying to achieve is something that you can drive, and first and foremost, and then secondly to get fast. But yeah, if you want to be at the front of the pack, you're going to have it dialed in, no doubt about it. And that's going to be the case no matter what oval we're running.
Well, I would say that the Daytona setups were vitally important for qualifying. Here it's going to be vitally important for the race. Though just trying to get into those 0.1s would probably be good for a lot of people.
Bill Daly tells me no excuses. All right, fair enough.
We don't have anybody else out on track right now. It's going to be quiet here for a little bit. What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge going into this week?
Biggest challenge as far as from the driver's perspective during the race, or
during the race, yeah.
Well, there's going to be so much. So, given the nature of the track itself, everybody's going to hit the wall. I think occasionally it's just going to happen. Obviously, there's going to be some wrecks. Avoiding those is going to be important. But what I'm leading up to is obviously that spare car, when to use it, when not to use it, when to not have it checked accidentally, and accidentally use it for something minor, and have to go the next 300 laps without any problems. So I think that's strategically that's going to be hugely important. Also, the pit cycle. So there's going to be a lot of people because of the tire wear that are going to want to pit early, right? Most people are going to be tire limited, not fuel limited, And so it's just kind of, when do you cry uncle? Each person's going to have their own threshold for that. And if you're somebody who, you want to drive it hard early and you want to have a little bit of a shorter window, that's going to maybe keep your pace up, but you are really at risk for one of those. You just up the ante in terms of the chances that a caution is going to come out during one of your short pits. And when that happens, you're going to go a lap, maybe 2 days. So the people who can hold on to their tires and extend that run, maybe aren't as fast, early in the run, or maybe even aren't as fast throughout the run. But it's more of a safe way to go around it strategically, and so it's going to be really interesting to see what everybody does.
I agree. I think you're just going to have to take the chances during those yellows while you can. I can't see us having long green flag runs, but maybe I'll be shown wrong. The support races this week were, at least in Europe and Americas, were a bit of a mess. Caused a bit of drama. So
yeah, caused us to rethink how we do the support races a little bit in terms of our motivation. So I guess I can talk about that a little bit too. But the support races are always going to be messier than the real race. So whatever happens in those, you can say, okay, well, it's going to get tightened up for the race, at least to a degree. Right now, how much is to be seen. But the support races are messier for a few reasons. Number one, you have a huge talent fluctuation from top to bottom in the support races. Anybody can run them from any region, and we want them to. We want people to get out there and turn laps. And so we understand that that's going to be a byproduct of it occasionally, is that you're going to have a huge time speed difference from top to bottom. You're also going to have a huge preparedness difference. Some people are going to have run several hundred laps prior to that, and other people, these will be turning their first laps, sadly. And so big reasons why they can be a little bit messier, especially on oval tracks, especially on tight quarters oval tracks. So that's not surprising to me and or disappointing to me. But once we get into the real deal, you're racing with guys that are of similar ability, or at least more similar ability, people you've raced with before, and so they usually get a little bit better. That said, I think in America's Pro, International Pro, I think we're going to have long green flag runs, at least a few of them, and we'll probably have green flag pit stops, probably multiples. In every other split, I think that is a great question you posed. Will that happen, or won't it happen? And that's going to, honestly, the race is going to turn on that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the strategies are going to be so dependent on those yellows, when they're going to fly. Because if you do a green flag pit stop, like you said, you're going a lap down, maybe 2. The pit lane here is 40 miles an hour. So to go in there, you're adding serious time. And it's a long pit lane. It's not short.
It feels longer.
Yeah, it feels much longer. Absolutely. We've got nobody out in track right now. Michael Morley has the quickest time, 22.85 right now. Is it 8.53? It's a really select group up top in the 22s. We've got Eric Smith and Mike Kelly, both in the 22.9s. There's a 9.0 and a 9.9. We've got 2, Joshua Allen, 23.065. We've also got Liam Quinn with that 23.088. Then it goes into the ones. There's a lot of people at 0.1. You've got quick guys like Andrew. You've got Joshua Wolf in there, Adam Halleck, Ray Farlow. This is going to be the race of the 0.1s. See who has the quickest 0.1 to keep them in the top 10 for a few of these divisions.
Yeah, for sure. Well, in America's Pro, it's not going to be good enough. So you got, even like Liam Quinn in 5th at 23.088 is not fast enough. But then you look at like Dean Mole, Cam Dance are in international. That'll make it. Kurt Crum is a 1.43 in Europe. That should make it. Joshua Wolf's at a 1.46. That's going to be, again, we're adding guys to that. So those are going to be close. But somewhere in the teens is what Riley Thompson, a 1.99. Again, going into the session, that would have been fast enough. But with 1, 2, 3, 4 European guys ahead of him? Probably not. So that 199 is probably now not good enough to make the top 10. Whereas somebody like even a Josh Wolf at a 146 is going to be right on that cutoff for Europe. And again, you got to be in the 22s in Americas to make it in the pro for sure.
Yeah, pro is going to be very, very competitive. On the sportsman side, I'm not going to speak about myself, but we do have a few guys in the point O's, a couple actually, and one at the point one before these results, and then it's just a slew of twos and threes, and then even into the fives. So I think there's going to be some leeway in sportsmen to get into that top 10. But we may have run out of spots in qualifying. There is nobody on track. I'm wondering if we just ran out of grid spots and that's why we don't have anybody on there right now.
I don't think so, but I think most people just like to get in the session early, and they all know this one is broadcast. So we have and it's the last one of Q1, so everybody wants to get in and do it. And hopefully they don't want the track temp to rise.
We do have three drivers who are registered who have yet to turn a lap. One of them is very quick. That's Drew Lalonde. All week long, he's been posting just insanely lightning quick times. But he has not entered the track yet. Eugene Vernon. Actually, it looks like Drew is about to go on the track right now. So maybe we can see somebody dethrone Michael Morley at that 22.8. Here we go in the 46 machine.
Cool. Yeah, and Drew is actually in Europe, and I think he's a European sportsman, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to be seeing what he needs to hit.
Yeah, Mike, I think we are in danger of running out of grid slots because when I joined, I think I was number 42.
Yeah, it's there's 47 registered.
That's weird because I thought 46 was the limit.
That's the track limit. It'll take up to 62. Yeah.
Oh, you're okay.
Drew on his first flyer comes up high, but not too high. He's not going to dip down on this lap. 23.6. He's just warming up those tires in the Pennywise machine. That's what it looks like. Here we go. First properly quick lap, maybe. 23.2, and I know that Drew has more left in him.
So that actually puts him in second place in European Sportsman right now. So he's already got it. What do you need? Did you put any laps in yet, John?
Yeah. I didn't improve as much as I'd liked. I'd ever like to, but I think I've jumped above Chris Burnell, which puts me back in the top 10, I think. Qualifying here has been really, really difficult because it's so variable on the last 10 for 210s is so difficult to get.
So Drew Lalonde with a 23.073. Is that good for pole?
Yep.
Yeah, that's pole in European sport. So, yep.
Okay, so we have a new pole sitter. Will we have any more people on the track? It's not looking like it. Michael Morley still on top with that 22.853. Haven't seen anybody get into the .7s yet in quali trim and qualification environmentals. Oh, yeah, there is Matt Centel with the 22,788 in America's Pro for Sector 5.
Yeah, I think there's a few people capable of it. Whether they actually achieve it in practice or not, in a real session or not, that's another one.
Yeah, before the week started, I honestly didn't think that anybody would break into the 22s. So, I mean, that's blowing my mind a little bit.
Has this year just been more competitive than years past, or are we about the same?
Oh, it gets more competitive all the time. So yes, for sure. And as you know, for those that the goal in my mind, America's is getting really close to what I envisioned for every region, and that's 4 to 5 splits each week, so that each split can have uh, a really equal balance of talent. And yeah, so that it is like hyper competitive from top to bottom. When we first started this thing in 2014, we didn't fill one split every week, and there was a big, huge difference between first and last speed wise. And as we've added regions and areas, that's repeated itself. But as we grow and grow and grow, each of those regions tightens up a little bit. Even European Pro is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. International Pro is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And so, yeah, the goal at the end of the day is that we have like I said, 4 to 5 splits in every region at least, and splits that can be won by 10, 20 guys each week, which is be awesome.
John, what do you think of the state of the series now going into the third round?
Oh, super healthy. I think as Mike said, the competition is heating up in all of the regions, and it's a lot closer in all the regions than it's been before. And where the participation is growing in international and Europe, not quite as fast as we'd have liked it to, but it's still growing, and where at least we're getting to the point where it looks like where we've got viable pro and sportsman splits in both regions in pretty much all the rounds. Although in international we're struggling a little bit this round, but yeah, the series is really healthy, and it'll just get better and better as more people join. And it's a momentum thing. The first year, 2 years ago when we first went global, that was really difficult because we were apart from the two then Americas regions, we were struggling on participation, and even in Atlantic, which is the region that ended up getting dropped, we were struggling for numbers there. But it's way better now.
Yeah, I think the last time I asked Mike how many registered drivers there were in the series, it was a four-figure number.
Yep. Yeah, it's just over 1,300 right now, and like 400, just over 400 season pass holders. So that's really good. Obviously, would like to see that keep going up. We've had like 600 and I don't know how many. No, I guess that's not true. But we've had roughly that many, 450 individual different starters so far this year. Would love to see that number get to closer to 600. So that'd be really good.
There's somebody on our YouTube chat, sorry, that said the current America's Pro Q1 cutoff right now is Bob Beltrami with a 22.975. So you need to do a 22.9 in order to be in the top 10 in America's Pro right now.
It's just mad.
Yeah, that was Matt Thornhorst who said that. But yeah, that's crazy. Yep, super fast. So real quick, while we have a lull in what's going on out there, as far as actually, I'll let John talk about the support series changes. I was going to talk about those, John, but then you jumped in, so I'll let you.
Yeah, so just going back to the last topic, one other little fact about how close and varied the competition is now. At the last round for the Daytona 500, we had 3 new winners in the 3 regions in the pro split, and we keep track of all of those. And those 3 put us over 100 people that have won rounds in the majors over the years.
I think it's going to be really interesting throughout the year just to see who wins, to see if anybody can put a pattern together or if it's just going to be varied throughout the year. Um, do you think we'll see some cream rise to the crop, rise to the top here?
For sure. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think the road races are a little bit more predictable because there's some there's some guys that are really good on road and they have a bit of an advantage over other people. So like Christian in Americas, of course, is he will win some of the road races for sure, and multiple ones of them. But even that is going to be he's going to be challenged hard by a few people in those races. The oval ones are always unpredictable, and they tend to be a bit more specialist and also a bit more unpredictable. In Europe, I think it's going to be very open all year, and we're gonna see a lot of different winners in Europe. International, I think the winners will probably be restricted to 4 or 5 people. So we'll see multiple winners in international, in pro. But it's all of the regions are tough, and it's getting tougher and tougher to win.
Yeah, I would agree with everything that John just said, and just to piggyback on it, so that's all looking at pro. If you look at sportsmen, if we've done this right, if we've set it up correctly, there should be the most parity in sportsmen for obvious reasons, right? You have to be under 2,500 iRating cap in any discipline, under 4,000 total, etc. So if we've done it right, it should be very close at the top, especially at the top of sportsmen. And that's one of the reasons why we promote the best people each year from sportsman into pro automatically, is to kind of keep that balance. And again, the more drivers that we get participating in sportsmen, the more likely it is that parity increases, which I think is what everybody wants, is close racing, right? And so this is just sort of my plea in both, all the regions really, but if you look at like international, so building a nice little group of guys in both the pro and the sportsman. But the sportsman division is, we're going to be about 16 to 25 people, it looks like, week in and week out, and that's good, but would love to see that even bigger so that we can get more parity and the races can be even closer. And I think a lot of people don't fully yet understand the majors from the perspective of, there's going to be a place for me to race against people that are of similar ability to me. I don't care who you are, there's just not that many places that you can find that. And that includes official, because most series in official don't split, right? There's a select few, of course, but most series in official don't split. So in the majors, if we continue doing what we're doing, you're going to have an opportunity to race people of your own ability, race in and race out. And the kicker on top of that is you're going to get to know them, and you get to build a camaraderie with them and some friendships. And so that's really, to me, the biggest allure is the sportsman class in our entire series. I love the pro, obviously, and that's what everybody's fighting for. But to me, the sportsman is sort of that hidden gem, and we want to keep growing it. And in fact, we have, and I think John will probably agree with me, we have too many people in pro in terms of signed up for pro, because anybody can sign up for pro. We don't restrict that. And a lot of people want to be in pro because of the name, I guess. I don't really know what the allure is, but a lot of the people that are in pro, especially in America's pro, and maybe even some in European pro, honestly, those are sportsman level drivers. And that's not a knock on them. I'm a sportsman level driver, right? There's nothing wrong with that. You should want to race where the racing is good, where the racing is going to be good for you. And anyway, that's my soapbox. But I think that the sportsman, to answer your question, Mark, is there should be 14 different races. There should practically be 14 different winners in sportsmen. That's my view, anyway.
It's very difficult to be a well-rounded driver in this series, I think, just because of the variety of a successful well-rounded driver in this series, just because of the variety of races that we're doing in the series. I just want to bring attention, we've got Henry Bennett out on track in the 007 machine that's looks to be British Racing Green. He's doing 23.2s right now.
Well, he is English, I think.
Yeah, he definitely is. 007 is not accidental, and he is running in European Pro, and he's super fast in whatever you put him in. So look for Henry to do well. He's a PDR member.
Yeah, and his lap 4 is his quickest, 23.186. That puts him in 17th in the group in the session, but it's gonna put him pretty far up those the qualifying standings for his division. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think he's going to just miss out on the top 10 in Europe. I think that number has just gotten faster and faster in this session, but still really respectable for sure.
Okay, so going back to the sports series, we had a big think about it, and there was obviously some debate on Discord as well about particularly the Europe and Americas races, and we also thought about what's changed. Last year the sports series races, they, as Mike said, they're always a little bit messier than the main events, but they were, in the most part, pretty good last year. This year, the 2 oval races in Americas and Europe have been pretty horrible. Way too many cautions, too many incidents. So we thought about what we changed, and there's the 2 big changes we made for this year is we were giving out provisionals for the main events, and we also stopped calculating CPI, or stopped giving out CPI for the support races. So we basically changed almost back to where we were last year. So we're not going to hand out provisionals from round 5 onwards. We're also the big attraction. One of the big attractions of the support series is if you run it, you get laps credited on your practices. We're going to make that dependent on CPI now. So if you run a support race and your CPI is below 75, you won't get any laps credited to you for practice. And we've also clarified one thing that was a little bit of an issue in the Europe race in particular, and that's that people that look dangerous in practice, we're specifically giving ourselves the option of booting them from the server. We always had that right, but it was something that was always done as a really, really last resort, and it was difficult to make the decision. So we said very clearly now that we're going to do that if we see people that look like they haven't done enough practice, we'll boot them from the server. So hopefully we'll get back to better and cleaner races in the support races as well.
Amen. We got Danielle Jackson out there.
Daniel should be pretty good. He was fast in the support races. He won the Europe one, I think.
Yeah, he's locked in to the top 10 because he won. Yeah, he's a sportsman, but he won the top. He's locked into the top 10, so I guess he's just doing this to meet the qualifying requirement. But yep. All right, gentlemen. Sorry, John. I'm gonna bow out real quick, but appreciate you hosting, Mark, and glad to see you were able to jump in here, John. So you guys have a good rest of your.
Just to clarify what Mike said there, Daniel Jackson has got a locked-in spot for the split, but not for the top 10. The provisionals are only for the split. So
you're right. Sorry, my bad.
He needs to set a fast enough time to have got into the top 10.
Do we have anybody else coming out on track? We don't. Though we still have 3 drivers who have registered and not turned a lap. Eugene Vernon, Jonathan Medeiros, and Brian McGreevy. I think Brian just registered, so we may see him on track here fairly soon. Um,
Yeah, I think John Medeiros will run as well.
uh, what's been your biggest challenge so far this week, John, outside of being on the competition committee and speaking as a racer? I know you're more of a road course guy, so what has your experience been here at Rockingham this week?
Uh, Actually, I'm not sure it's true anymore that I'm more of a road guy. I'm probably in international. I'm more competitive on ovals than I am in on road. Um, you know, I'm consistent on road, but I'm not as fast as some of the guys in it. Whereas on ovals, I'm pretty consistent. But for me, the big challenge here has been qualifying. I've been so inconsistent with my qualifying times. I've been in testing sessions and ghosting. I've been down. I've done a couple of 22.9s, and I've regularly been doing 23 zeros. And yet in my two runs, I've done 23 twos. So it's just difficult because in the real in the real sessions you tend to tense up a little bit and you overdrive a bit and you lose a lot of time. But we'll see. I think the races will be different and will suit the way that I drive much better than qualifying. So I'm fairly confident about the race, as long as I can use the right strategy, and I'm not in the wrong place at the wrong time when wrecks happen.
Yeah.
And that's always going to be going to be the concern here, because even if you're near the front of the field for most of the race, there is going to be a point where you make a stop and you end up a little bit further back in the field, and then you're open to being wrecked out.
Well, it looks like we've got two people out on track right now. We've got Shane Norton in the 95 Apex Racing Group machine, just finishing his first lap with a 23.441. But we also have Brian McGreevy out here doing some interesting things with his car. He's just lighting those tires up. Instead of just pushing it out of pit lane, he took his time around the track and just lightened those tires up, warming them up, trying to see if he can get some grip into them. Grip has been an issue here this week, especially when it gets hot. But maybe he's got a strategy that's working for him in the 68 machine.
Yeah, we've tried doing burnouts with our qualifying runs, and we basically came to the conclusion that it made very, very little difference. In theory, it helps because it heats up the tires, but you can overheat them pretty easily as well. So it all depends. You're better off running fairly steadily for the outlap and lap one, and then really putting the hammer down on lap two.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. Shane Norton is going to bail on his lap 4, but his lap 3, good for 23.110. We've got Brian McGreevy. He's about to finish his lap 3 so far, 23.256. He's at 22.967 now in that machine. And my teammate Ron McPherson out there. His first lap was a 24.9. He's now 25.3 on lap 2. And
so
he's getting loose.
That lap puts Brian into the top 10 for America's Pro.
Yeah.
Just
22.967. Bails. Well, he didn't bail. He finished lap 4. He was still trying.
And that's good for unorthodox, because they seem to have been struggling a little bit this week. So they've obviously found a little bit in the last day or two.
Yeah, they absolutely have. Um, Shane Norton's lined up on the end of pit road again. Maybe he was going to use that fourth lap.
If he's on lap 4 already, he won't be able to.
And Ron has some damage in the 143 machine. Looks like his quickest time is going to be a 24:083. Shane Norton, he's just waiting there. Maybe he's just waiting for that last minute to see if he can punch one out. Or maybe he's just chilling. Who knows? What is going on in Shane Norton's head? Just sitting there. Just wants to get some screen time.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to do another run because he's already completed lap 3, so he's on lap 4 now. So his out lap will be lap 4, and then when he when he goes across the line, it'll be lap 5. So he can't do anything now. He can
Yeah.
just sit in there.
But hey, I'll show his car on the screen.
Well, if there's no one else doing anything, we might as well.
Yeah. So this track is bumpy. You do see it from a spectator view that it's bumpy. It's a different experience when you're in the car. Um, this week I actually turned down my force feedback because of it. I found that I was getting more consistent. How did you feel with the track, John?
Yeah, I've raced here quite a lot, and actually I've raced here. I raced here quite a bit in these cars because I used to run the national series when I was doing ovals regularly, and I always enjoyed this track. But it's as bumpy as hell. Um, I still had my because I don't do very much official racing these days. I still had my force feedback turned down from Daytona, so I haven't changed anything this week. Um, but yeah, it's going to be 393 laps here is going to be a physical challenge, especially for us people that are a little bit older than the average.
Absolutely. Though I can't say that I'm older than the average, I'm probably square right in the middle of it. And even I had to turn it down. I'm not in the same shape I was when I was 21. The pot belly is definitely showing. We've only got a minute and 10 seconds left in qualifying here, and then Q1 is done. Um, I noticed that this week there's a little bit of a change in locking in teams. We had to lock them in a little bit earlier than the previous week. Was that due to people kind of, I don't know, stacking the teams at the last minute?
No, I think the top 10 shootout does exactly what we wanted to do. It gives people an incentive to qualify a little bit earlier in the week. We used to last year we got the majority of people only qualifying on like Friday and Saturday, um, which was okay, but it meant things weren't very well spread out. So now we're getting this peak midweek, which is really good because we get to see we it does two things. We get to see a little bit earlier um, where everyone stands, sort of, um, but also it means that people can get qualifying over and done with, and then they can concentrate on their race sets, which is really what we want. Um, qualifying for the majors is really important, and probably more important than we'd like it to be these days. Um, but I think we're trying to strike a balance between making sure that we get the right people in the right splits, but also giving people time to prepare for the races themselves.
Does that even highlight more how important it is to be on a team in the majors now?
Oh, absolutely. On the if you look through the list of the people in the top tens, almost all of them are in the the, the top teams in their regions. So in America's Pro, you're talking about Sector 5, which is half of the old Alliance team, and Kinetic and Unorthodox. And I think Bob Beltrami's dropped out now, but he's on Dog Bear, so he'll he's on a good team as well. Sportsman, same deal. It's mostly you guys and Kinetic and a couple of others. And international, I think it's pretty much all either Kinetic or Illusion.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see, especially this week, how there are some independents toward the top, which we haven't seen in Daytona and at either Daytona race. Um,
Well, we did because we had people like Samuel Roush and a couple of others that were really up there. But those ringers, if we use that term, are you know they're real specialists. And people like Roush, the reason he wasn't right at the top of of qualifying is that he had the pro he had the Coke Pro race that week as well, so he just he couldn't spend any time in it. And if you look at the top of America Pro, there's two supposedly independent people, but those two independents are Thunhorst and Callisto, who both are ex-Alliance. So they may they may not have a team in name, but you can bet that they're working together.
yeah. The session is now over. It looks like Morley's on top of the session. He's not necessarily on top of his split. But running through, there's a lot of competition there in the ones. It's going to be interesting to see how those translate to the race, because there have been a lot of hot lap specialists out there, myself included, who just absolutely beat on our tires. But it looks like um, we're going to be in for some really close racing at the top. It's not like one person has run away with it.
Yeah, I think the races will be really close, and it will all come down to how many how many long runs there are, and who's got setups and the driving style to be able to take advantage of those if they happen. Um, and it's a difficult balance. We've basically got two types of sets in Kinetic. One that's pretty fast out of the box, but wears its tires a little bit quicker, and then one that's really good on long runs. And we're still debating about which one to use because, like last year at Charlotte, for the majors race, we had an absolutely brilliant long run setup, but we never in none of the regions do we get long enough runs to actually take advantage of the set. So it is it's going to be interesting. I think the races will get spread out a little bit if we get decent runs, and if we get really good runs, if we get 50 plus lap runs, it'll get really spread out. The international support race, we had a 57 lap run, and I think I got up to fifth place or so, and I think there was only one other car on the lead lap at that point when we did finally get a caution. So I think we'll see a lot of spreading out if we get long runs, and the key word there is if.
Yeah, I think that is the key word, especially after the support series races. But maybe it's because we saw a bit of diversity between drivers, let's put it that way, in those support series races. Maybe the pro races will be a lot cleaner. Maybe the support races will be a lot cleaner just because there's less disparity between drivers.
Yeah,
But
I think there's that, and the support races. The reason that we're going to stop handing out the provisionals is that there appeared to be in Americas and Europe, there appeared to be some thought that, unless I'm going to win, there's no point me finishing, and I think that caused over aggressiveness in both those races, and so they're relatively short races. Even the international one was 110 laps, and that's only that's less than a third of the main race. So I think everyone will be much more aware that they need to finish and they need to avoid problems, and in the main races, if you go a lap down, it's probably not going to end your chances.
Hmm.
Whereas in the support races, you needed to be near the front right from the start.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think no, I'm sure it'll be better. It's just a case of how much better it is.
Yeah.
Um, what tends to happen in the majors oval races is that we tend to get a lot of cautions in the early stages of races, and then in the middle part of them they go fairly long, and then we start getting cautions again in the last quarter of the race as everyone gets a little bit more desperate to get to the front.
Yeah, absolutely. I think over time, um, the support race situation will get better, but you just can't expect a wide swath of changes to fix everything overnight. It just doesn't work like that. But I do want to switch gears right quick, just because I've been sitting here for an hour. And I haven't really talked about my own team all that much. Brian Halleck sent a message on our Discord. We currently have first, fourth, sixth, and seventh, and 11th in Sportsman. So tell your guys to get ready there, John.
Yeah, well, we'll be okay. We, we have a plan.
Oh, really? What's the plan, John? What's the plan?
Well, as we talked about last time, the real key in those sportsman teams, and we'll probably tweak the rules next year to change a little bit, is where your pros finish.
Right,
So the problem the problem with all of those sportsman guys is that in effect only one of them is going to score points for the team, and the two pros will probably score the bulk of the points.
right.
So it's actually from a team point of view, it's actually more important where your pros are than where you are in the sportsman.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with Adam Halleck. Adam did better tonight than he did in previous Q. He did a 23.074, which isn't good enough for the top 10, but it will definitely make him eligible for top split. With Eric, who's also on our gold team this week. Eric put in a 23.23. I'm not sure if he had qualified before, but that's his time now. I'm not sure if that'll keep him in the top split or not, but those are our gold guys.
That's not going to be good enough
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately.
for Eric. This was Eric's first attempt, so he's got another chance.
Yeah.
Anyway, we better close down the
We
podcast.
better.
It's supposed to be an hour, and it's
Yeah.
been an hour and 10.
Thanks for hanging in with us, and thanks for jumping in, John.
Yeah, thanks for hosting this, Mark. It was great.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity, and we'll see you again. Not so much me, but you again later this week.
Catch you all later.